weapons, white phosphorus, I think that was used as well.
Yes, yeah.
And many children, they were burnt. Horrifying pictures that we've been seeing here on the internet. And I don't think that any person, any human being would see these pictures and sit back and say, well, that is okay. And I think every human being was touched. Every person who saw these pictures, they were touched. What else did you see over there? We're just going to talk on this, your last visit during this, the cast-lead operation. Just briefly, a bit more on this, then we're going to move on to your present experience that you had this time.
Well, the one thing I can remember from the first visit was we went into a house that had belonged to a family, and it was all bombed out and scorched black inside. And some of the little boys brought in some of the white phosphorus to show us, and they put it down on a stone and rubbed it with a stick, and it started smoking. So we all ran out of the house. But it just, you could see the sort of obvious dangers that they lived in. We saw children sort of scrabbling around in the rubble, trying to find lost belongings, and it was obviously very dangerous. So that first visit, the shock was very evident. We went to Al Shifa hospital, and we actually spoke to one of the consultants from the critical care unit, and he was very obviously in deep shock and very traumatized from what he'd had to go through. And he said, you know, we don't want your money, we don't need your money, we need our freedom.
Freedom is more precious than money or food or whatever. And you saw many victims there. Did you meet the victims?
Well, we did. We were actually taken, a group of about 7 women, we were taken around to visit some of the families and see, you know, what had happened to their homes. And it was very upsetting. You know, there was one old lady, she broke down and cried, and it really, really was upsetting. Although we couldn't communicate with her, because we spoke English and she spoke Arabic, you know, it was obvious, you know, what she was trying to tell us.
Sure. Laura, that was your experience from 2009, February 2009, when there was this operation called the Cast Lead carried out against the Palestinians, and many Palestinian men, women and children were killed and slaughtered. This is again another inhumane act of the Israeli forces and the Israeli government. We're going to go back to Ibrahim. Ibrahim, you were talking about your last time that you went, twice you've been to Gaza, and you had a problem in Tunisia on your way. And was there any problem you faced with in your last trips by the Israeli government? Very briefly.
The last trip, well, basically the first trip, while we were in Gaza, we went to the coastal area where we had food, and half an hour after we ate in this place was also bombed. And then the second trip we went on, while we were in Gaza, we managed to visit more people this time, because we linked up with the Interpol agency that was based in Gaza, and they took us to different places in Gaza to meet injured, to meet in different hospitals and different institutions. And also while we were there was bombing going on.
Right.
So
well, any of your crew, any member of your crew were hurt or
no,
by these
they were bombing
bombings?
in different areas of where we were. But the first time, like I said, we were bombed in a certain area of where we visited.
Okay, let's talk about your this time visit on this ship with many people. I think 9 people were murdered by the IDF. How did it all happen? You went from home, you got on the ship, however you got there through your car from home, say goodbye to your family, and you thought you're going to go out there and do a good deed. Then at the end you had a wonderful journey, probably. Everybody was happy by the time you get to a place where you face this horror. All of a sudden, what happened?
My main intention for going on this flotilla was to actually go to Gaza and stay there and carry out aid work, and maybe even help with the building of what this aid was sent for. But unfortunately this did not happen. So for a good few days, as soon as we got on board in Antalya in Turkey, everybody was enjoying themselves. You know, it felt as if we were guaranteed our passage to Gaza. We were all one family. There was people who spoke Turkish, Arabic, all sorts of different languages. But that didn't stop people from being together. And then there was women on board, there was old people on board, there was young people on board. but we all treated each other, you know, as one family. So the mood in the ship was very, you know, it was very positive until the day before, which was Sunday afternoon, where we were told by the leaders of the charities that, look, tomorrow we could be expecting something, because we're going to be coming towards the Israeli border, you know, where they made the blockade.
Right.
But we were still very far off, a good 10 hours travelling from the actual boundary they put.
Okay, Alex, were they all Turks or were they all Muslims on these boats? Because what we hear is that they were all Muslims and many of them were the members of the Al-Qaeda. We're going to come back to this Al-Qaeda issue later on. Were they all Muslims? Were they all Turks? He's not Turk, you're not a Turk. Laura is not, Laura is not Turk. Were the people from all
a very diverse group of
communities
people. The Turks were a large contingent because they had the largest boat, and this time, previous voyages were just made by the Free Gaza movement. This time we went with in coalition with partners such as IHH from Turkey. So we did have a very large number of Turks, but we had a boat from Greece and Sweden. We had a massive European contingent, including politicians. We had German, Norwegian and Irish politicians. We had human rights activists, filmmakers, journalists from Europe, the US, Australia, New Zealand, Muslims, Christians. Very diverse group of people. It shows that support for Palestine comes from all sectors of society, all over the world.
Now, talking about the filmmakers, what we heard that their cameras and their equipments were confiscated by the IDF as well.
Oh, more than that. On the boat I was on, we had two internationally known Australian journalists, war correspondents, and when our boat was attacked, and I was on the Samud, not the Marmaran, all the boats were attacked.
Sorry, how many boats were there altogether?
That finally met up on the flotilla, 6. Another 2 had tried to join the flotilla, and there'd been some problems with those that we're looking into, but our feeling is that the boats were sabotaged.
Sabotage, when you say sabotaged, what do you mean sabotage? Were they destroyed, blown up?
For example, 2 of the boats with the Free Gaza movement were yachts, and both, once we got to sea, began to have steering problems with the electrics and problems with the bilge pumps. And these problems spontaneously occurred on both boats at around the same point after we'd sailed. And I believe a representative of the Israeli military has obliquely referred to sabotaging the boats. They haven't officially admitted it. It's something that we wanted to investigate. We wanted to bring our boats into dry dock and examine them before we made this claim, because we wanted to be accurate in everything we said.
Had they touched the boats before this?
But now they've taken our boats, so we can't prove
they've taken them away?
Yes, when they took us, they've kept our boats. So it's going to be very hard for us to prove it.
Are they ever going to release those boats?
I doubt it. Last year we were on a boat that was taken, and we've never seen it again. The Lebanese sent a boat in January last year, and that was taken. We've never seen the boats again.
Laura, first thing that actually shook the people, what was it? Was it the Israeli army coming towards the people, or landing on the boats, or seeing the helicopters? What was the first thing that really got you frightened and say, what is happening?
Well, about 11 o'clock on the evening before of the attack, the captain announced that Israeli warships were showing up on the radar. So we knew we were surrounded. And because we were approaching the area where we would start our turn in towards Gaza, we knew that if anything was going to happen, it would be the next day. So 11 o'clock at night, we knew we were surrounded by the ships, and people began to sort of make preparations, tidy up their things, sit and read Quran. People were praying, and it was quite a somber atmosphere actually on board. The next morning, what happened was that we had the azan for Fajr just after 4 o'clock, I think, and we literally just about managed to pray Fajr before the attack.
That's the morning
happened.
prayer you're
Yeah.
talking about, yes,
Yeah.
and the azan is the call for prayer.
Yes.
Because there probably be people who don't know these things
Okay.
and be watching this program, and I think the human community should be watching programs like this, and they should understand what is really happening over there in Gaza against those innocent unarmed Gazan people, and all those charity workers who went out there to help them unarmed as well. Although we hear lot of things by the Israeli government. They had these kind of weapons, and they had these grenade launchers, and they had these massive knives and choppers and